Hey guys, Scott here over at woodwindflutes.com. Welcome back to the shop for another episode of Making the Native American Flute. Today we'll be talking about the glue-up process. So, what's so big about the glue-up process? I mean, after all, aren't we just gluing together a piece of wood, clamping it together, and tomorrow it's ready to go? Well, my response to that is, it's not quite that easy. So, next to the cutting edge, I feel that the glue-up process is very critical in establishing a good sounding flute. Here's what I mean. So I think there are three key elements in producing a good sounding flute. So the first key element, I believe, is airflow. So if we look at our illustration with the flute blank, the ideal situation is that the airflow passes through from the blowhole into the chamber, the slow air chamber, up the exit hole, across the focus channel, and is cut in half by the cutting edge. It flows through in a consistent, smooth fashion, okay? So anything that would impede this airflow and create turbulence will affect the sound of the flute. It's almost like when you get a cold and you're breathing and you can feel that congestion. It's like the air is hitting something. It could be, fibers of the wood sticking up. It could be, you didn't sand a certain area. And what it does is it creates this hissiness or airiness, as we call it, that is impeding the airflow. So ideally, what we want is for it to pass through as smooth as possible without any turbulence or anything impeding it. So the next element is the cutting edge. Of course, the cutting edge is very vital in producing the sound. Now, if you haven't seen our video on establishing the cutting edge, you may want to run over, look at that video, and then come back to this one, because we certainly will have to have the cutting edge established before we do any type of glue up. So the last process, or the last key element I should say, is air pressure. So air pressure, a lot like airflow, is very critical in a great sounding flute, in that if there are any type of leaks within the chamber, so in other words, when we go through the glue up process, if we don't get it clamped together tight and it leaks in some area, if this sac, this slow air chamber as we call it, is not pressurized properly because maybe there's some air leaking out, then certainly it will affect the overall tone and sound of your flute. I've had many of emails from people saying, I got to glue together, I blow through it, it's very quiet, but there is a sound there, or I can't seem to tune it right. And generally, the first thing you want to look at is the air pressure or the chamber sealed tight. So we'll go through that process here in a minute when we actually go through the glue up, and we'll show you some tips and tricks on how to ensure that you get your chambers pressurized or sealed up properly. So let's just jump into the next stage, which we will go through a few of the tools that are required and maybe some best practices. And then finally, we'll actually be gluing up a blank and showing you how we do that. So let's jump right into it.